Welcome to the show. My name's Greg Gary. I'm the boxing doctor. And welcome to the show. This is our first preview of this week's upcoming weekend events with Danny Garcia versus Earl Spence Jr. And I am very excited about this matchup. I decided tonight because I'm unable to come to who I think is going to be a winner in this bout tonight. I decided to pull their boxing records and do a little small analysis on the show tonight. And if you want to talk to me or join me in the future on one of these live streams, come join the website over at theboxingscience.com where we talk boxing business and boxing strategy. Of course, we got a super fantastic matchup coming up this weekend with Earl Spence Jr. I decided to go out to the boxing records and pull some stats on them. Obviously, those who are fans of both of these guys know they're outstanding fighters. Earl Spence Jr. with a record of 26 wins, 0 losses, and he's got 21 of those wins by KO. And Danny Garcia, 36 wins, 2 losses, and he's got 21 of those wins by KO also. As I look at these two fighters, I'm trying to see what kind of fight I might see, why I might see that fight, and first thing we have to start with is basically Mother Nature. How tall, how high, how long, how skinny, how fast, and those type of natural attributes you're given. And as I look over here at between Earl Spence and Danny, I first want to start off by their height. Uh, Earl Spence is 5'9.5", and Danny Garcia is 5'8". So I guess we'd have to give the height advantage to Earl Spence. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Let's look at a thing reach, a very important component in boxing. That edge goes to Earl Spence Jr. His reach is 72 inches, with Danny Garcia's reach of 68.5 inches. Now, as I look at these two deals right here, or the reach, I'm wondering to myself what kind of fight we might have. It's been usually said, they usually say the shorter guy got to get on the inside and try to mix it up with the guy because he doesn't have the reach to get him with the jab. I don't know. I don't know. I agree with that assessment. Most of the time, the shorter guy has to get in there and get in close so he can land some punches. If it's a jabbing contest, you probably have to give the edge to Earl Spence Jr. because he's fantastic. Earl Spence is fantastic at boxing up and down. His body attack is devastating. We saw that in the fight against Mikey Garcia, how basically the smaller guy came up in weight and Earl Spence chopped him up, body attack, jab to the body. Just a fantastic performance in that bout. Now, I'm not going to say that Mikey Garcia is a Danny Garcia because Danny Garcia is a guy that has outstanding counterpunching skills, in my opinion. I also want to say I like both of their nicknames. Earl Spence calls himself the Truth, and Danny Garcia calls himself Swift. So I like those names. I like both of these guys. I'm doing this a little analysis here because I I'm trying to convince myself one way or the other who's going to win this bout. I don't know. I don't know. And another thing I was looking at their schedule. I was trying to find some common opponents between these two guys. One common opponent I'm seeing off the top of my head here. Of course, as you know, uh, Earl Spence has 26 bouts. Danny Garcia has 36 bouts. So I have to give the extra of experience to Danny Garcia in this one. And let's look at some of these common opponents. Common opponents between both guys. Uh, why I'm doing this analysis is I'm thinking is the competition level going to be the difference? It happens all the time in sports where you have a team that could be 30-0, and they fought a lot of chumps, played a lot of chumps, and then when they get in there with the big boys, they get run out of the gym. So I know boxing is a lot different than basketball or football or what I'm talking about, but I think your opponent should have a impact. Well, definitely going to have an impact on your experience, right? Because the more experienced opponents you fight, the more stuff they're going to show you, yada yada yada. More stuff you're going to learn, and that could give you an edge. But let's look at some common opponents between Danny Garcia and Earl Spence Jr. One common opponent I see here is Lamont Peterson. Lamont Peterson. Both guys fought Lamont Peterson, and Danny Garcia. That was a close fight because he only won by a majority decision over Lamont Peterson, and and Earl Spence Jr. It doesn't say here on my thing, but he says he retained the title, so I'm just going to assume that he won by unanimous decision. Lamar Peterson's a good opponent. He's a good opponent. Another opponent. Let's see. Both of these guys fought Sean Porter. Now everybody knows Sean Porter's a tough guy. 30-2. His only two losses came to champions. I think his other loss came to. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Former champion. Of course, you guys know who he is. You know who he is. Sean Porter. 30-2. At the time that he fought uh, Danny Garcia, he was 28-2. And when he fought Earl Spence, he was 30-2. And he lost by unanimous decision. Did Danny Garcia? I saw the fight. I thought it was close. Um, I'm glad I wasn't a judge that night. Sean Porter. I think he's a fine fighter. So I can't really dispute the decision. I think Danny Garcia was kind of winning early, but he got a little out hustled later on in that fight. And so, yeah, Sean Porter got the unanimous decision on that night. And on this night, though, Earl Spence, he beat Sean Porter by split decision. So somebody, one of the judges, thought that Sean Porter beat Earl Spence Jr. We need to put a little star behind that. Very competitive fight. Um, as I look down both of their list, these both guys have fought some, especially Danny Garcia, some impressive opponents. I mean, Brandon Rios, he's got a record of 34-3. He got a loss. Keith Thurman was the person I was thinking about earlier. Keith Thurman, a good fighter. Robert the Ghost Guerrero. He was at the top of his game at one time. And these are all fighters that Danny Garcia has fought. He's fought Lucas Matisse. I mean, those are good opponents right there. And of course, Earl Spence only having 26 fights. I mean, to be the champion in the fashion he's working these days. I mean, but has he fought the same level of competition as Danny Garcia? He's fought Mikey Garcia, a guy who came up in weight that he, you know, was supposed to beat. Was he supposed to beat him? Well, he beat him convincingly, I would say. Lamont Peterson, Kell Brook at the time was 36-1. He knocked out Kell Brook, stopped him. Uh, I mean, Chris Algieri. I mean, am I talking headliners here? Chris Algieri, uh, um, Chris Van Herden, or Heaton, or Herden. Got a TK on him. I mean, I guess how can a guy with only 26 fights have a bunch of super fights? These last three fights are kind of what put Earl Spence, let's say last five fights, maybe since Kell Brook when he took the belt, went on through Lamont Peterson. He's been on a roll. Uh, Going back to Danny Garcia, one of his recent opponents, Adrian Granados. I think he knocked him out, and I think at the time he'd never been knocked out. I mean, that's impressive. Looking back even a little further right here, uh, Danny Garcia, he's got Zab Judah on his record. He's got a unanimous decision over Zab Judah, was 42-7 at the time. I'm looking back a little further now into Earl Spence's record. You know, uh, we got a Francisco Javier Castro. He knocked him out. Does anybody know him? He was 27-7 at the time. No Bolanos. We're talking Earl Spence now. Beat him 24-10. Does anybody know him? What about Ronald Cruz? I've heard that name, but so I'm gonna probably have to give the edge in experience. Another more fighters here from Danny Garcia. Eric Morales was 52-8 at the time. He knocked him out. Amir Khan was 26-2 at the time. He knocked him out. Uh, he fought Eric Morales twice, and the second time, the first time it was unanimous decision. Second time a knockout. He fought Kendall Holt. He got a win by unanimous decision against Kendall Holt. I remember Kendall Holt. He was a pretty good fighter. 27-4 at the time. Going back further, Nate Campbell. I'm sure some people remember Nate Campbell. 33-7 at the time. He lost a unanimous decision to Danny Garcia. Mike Aronotis, I remember him. He got knocked out. He was 22-6 at the time. I mean, he's got 38 fights, 36 fights. I mean, Danny Garcia, and Earl Spence got 26 fights. And is 10 fights a big deal? You tell me. You tell me. He beat a guy named Ashley Theo Payne. I remember him. Some of these guys I remember. I think I remember John Figueroa. Knocked him out in 2011. We're going back a little ways. But we're talking about, he's got 38 fights, so he's going to have a few more fights on his list than Earl Spence. Then we got some other fighters here that's on Danny Garcia's schedule. None that we really know. They're back in the 2-3-1 and 0-1 type of guys. The guys when you fight when you first get started in the sport. So I'm gonna have to give that experience advantage to Danny Garcia. But this boxing is about skill. It is about experience also. But it's about skill and maybe how you feel that night. And I'm really excited. I'm just so excited about seeing these fights. I wish it was just we lived in a world. Every month we could have two top-notch boxers putting their titles on the line for a championship where us fans can enjoy it. Now, I realize right now we're going through some trying times with the pandemic and all. And, we can't gather together like we used to. And I tell you, I really miss that. I really miss being able to look through the TV, watch the fight, and then I can see the fans on the other side of the ring and see the reaction when stuff is happening. That's really exciting to me. I love it. Of course, you guys know last weekend we just had an exhibition bout between Roy Jones Jr. and Mike Tyson. And what I'm thinking is they should do all the fights like that now. Hey, have a musical event in between each bout. I'd rather see some little performance by some actor, put a couple of bucks in his pocket, than I would rather hear the announcers jibble and jabble and jibble and jabble, and they show video clips about nothing. That was really a fun night for me. Not really necessarily the fight itself. No. Mostly the entertainment I enjoyed. The boxing was just kind of like a little add-on. Plus, it was a charity event. And this right here is going to be the real deal that's coming up this weekend. And I'm going to be excited to be there watching. Not there watching, but on TV watching. And I just can't wait to see these great two outstanding. I don't want to abuse the word great because they haven't proven to be great yet. As far as the rounds concerned, Danny Garcia has fought in 258 rounds. Errol Spence 120 rounds. And of course, that would make sense since he has 10 more fights than the other guy. But one thing is Errol Spence is a southpaw, and Danny Garcia is a regular orthodox fighter. Leading with his left foot, Danny Garcia, and Errol Spence leading with his right foot. And that could be a difference too. Um, could there be a knockout in this fight? That's the question I'm wondering about. And if there could be a knockout, who could get knocked out? In order for Earl Spence, I mean, to commit to that devastating body attack that he has, he may have to come through some thunder or these counter punches from Danny Garcia. And if you saw the knockout by Danny Garcia over Adrian uh, Granados, Granados, wow, that was impressive. That was impressive, man. He can put you on the floor. He has some impressive knockouts, Danny Garcia. He got power with both hands. I don't think about it. I don't see him really using his jab as much as I think he needs to use it to set up his punches and stuff. But man, what a matchup we got coming on here. I can't wait. I can't wait to see it. And I hope these guys come in with full health, 100% healthy, where they haven't had any pre-fight injuries, no hurt knuckles, no scrapes on the eye, no nothing like that. Now, of course, Earl Spence come off of accident last year. He's about a year away from that, and I'm hoping like heck that he's 100% back. And you know, he says he is, and I think he is. A year is that's a pretty good amount of time to get your body rest. And their ages, Earl Spence is 30, Danny Garcia is 32 years old. Pretty close in age. I guess you would call them in the prime of their boxing careers right now. And this is what we need to see in boxing. I don't believe boxing is dead like some. Every fight that comes on TV, it's not supposed to be like watching Independence Day or some great movie. But this right here, these when you get people like Earl Spence in the ring and Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman and some of the and Canelo and some of the top notch Triple G, some of the top notch fighters in the game in the ring, they can bring a crowd. That's when you want to get together with your buddies and talk crap, drink a couple of cold ones, eat some good food, and just kind of hang out and talk about the sport. So I'm not going to just keep on rambling on here about this. Uh, so far, have I decided? I think what I'm going to do tomorrow night is I'm going to go pull some old video of these two guys fighting against other opponents, common opponents, and see if I can find the secret clue that if I wanted to go out and bet a few $100s on this fight tomorrow, who would I put it on? Who would I put the money on? I mean, I guess if I was going to put the money on at this moment, pin me in a corner. Nah. I ain't going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to wait. I'm going to give you guys my prediction over at theboxingscience.com where I talk boxing strategy and boxing business. If you want to be part of our live stream, go over to the website. Once you join the website, I'll post a link to where you can join me on the live stream. This website I have, the Boxing Science, is not about a news site. It's about a community of people just want to hang out and talk about the sport of boxing and give their opinion. It's not about my opinion, it's about your opinion. And so that's why I'm here talking about sports I love to talk about. As a youth myself, I played pretty much all the sports. I never was a boxer though. That was for tough people. I wasn't tough. And so If anybody wants to come check with me or hang out with me or and talk about boxing, come join me over at theboxingscience.com. I don't have the link in the description box, but you see it on the screen. Just come over there, talk to me, sign up, and let's hang out. Talk about boxing. Talk about this upcoming event that's coming up this week. I can't wait. I can't wait. I can't wait. And I think we're going to talk about the trainers tomorrow night and review some old fights. So if you want to join me talking boxing, my name's Greg. I'm the boxing doctor, and I live over at theboxingscience.com. If you want to hear the stream, come talk to me. If you want to be part of the stream, you want to be part of the boxing family, come hang out with me over at theboxingscience.com. I'm at www.theboxingscience.com where we talk boxing business and boxing strategy. Have a good one.